Kemi's phone was already in her hand when she saw the woman fall. One moment, the street outside the glass-fronted office building was loud with Okada engines and people calling prices. The next, everything seemed to pause, like even the Lagos air held its breath. The old woman stumbled near the gate, her wrapper slipping at the waist, her headscarf loose, her knees shaking like they could not remember how to stand. She tried to speak, but her voice did not rise above the traffic. Kemi froze. Her interview time was in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The number rang in her mind like a bell. This was the dream job, the one her mother had prayed for when the candle burned low and the rent was due. The one her younger brother talked about as if it would change their whole family overnight. Big company, he kept saying, eyes bright. Air condition. Monthly salary. No more debts. Kemi had even borrowed lipstick from her neighbor that morning, smoothing it on with careful hands. She wore her only neat blouse, the one she washed at midnight so it could dry before dawn. She had combed her hair so clean and tight that her scalp still felt tender. Now the old woman fell again, this time fully, onto the pavement. People noticed. People looked. But nobody moved fast. Some stepped aside as if suffering might stain their shoes. A man selling phone chargers lifted his chin and clicked his tongue. Two young women slowed down, stared, then hurried away, as if they were late to something more important than a human life. Even the security guards at the gate glanced over and looked away. The eyes said, "Not our problem." Kemi's feet moved before her brain finished arguing. She dropped her folder on the ground and ran to the woman. The woman's skin felt hot, too hot, like a pot left on fire. Her lips were dry, cracked. Her eyes fluttered open and closed, as if they were searching for a face they could trust. "Mama," Kemi whispered, kneeling. "Can you hear me?" The woman's fingers grabbed Kemi's wrist with surprising strength. Her grip was not violent, just desperate, like a drowning person holding onto a plank. The woman's eyes focused for 1 second, sharp and full of fear. "Please," the woman said, voice thin. "Don't leave me." Kemi swallowed hard. She looked up at the tall building. The company logo shone like a promise. Inside that building was her chance. Outside, on the ground, was this woman, shaking and slipping away. Her phone buzzed. A message from the HR number she had saved, "Be at reception by 9 a.m. No late entry. Kemi's stomach turned. She looked at the time. 8:51. 9 minutes. Her mother's voice came to her like it always did when Kemi was afraid. A child who rushes past a crying person may arrive early, but she will arrive with a heavy spirit. Kemi did not know why she remembered that old saying at that moment. She only knew it made her chest tight. "Mama," she said again, softer. "I will help you. I will not leave you." The woman's eyes filled with tears. She tried to speak more, but her breath hitched. A cough rose in her throat, rough and deep. Kemi pulled her up a little, supporting her back with her arm. "Please," Kemi called, raising her voice now. "Help me. Somebody help." A security guard finally walked closer, slow like he was doing Kemi a favor. "Madam, move her away from the gate," he said. "You are blocking the entrance." Kemi stared at him, shocked. "She is sick." The guard shrugged. "Call her people." Kemi looked around. "Does anyone know her? Does she have family here?" No answer. Only eyes. Only silence. The old woman squeezed Kemi's wrist again, weaker now, and whispered something that sounded like a name. "Kabir," the woman breathed. "Tell." "Kabir." Kemi leaned in. "Kabir who, Mama? What is his name?" But the woman's eyes rolled back, and her head fell against Kemi's shoulder. Kemi's heart started to race. She felt the panic rising like heat in her throat. She could not just sit there. She could not drag the woman alone. She could not walk away either. So Kemi made a choice that felt like stepping off a cliff. She stood, grabbed her folder, and hurried into the building. Not to attend her interview. Not yet. She ran straight to the reception desk, breathless. The receptionist looked up, already frowning, as if she was ready to announce, "Late candidates are not allowed." "Please," Kemi said quickly. "There is an old woman outside. She collapsed. She needs help. Please call an ambulance. Please." The receptionist blinked, confused. "Outside. By our gate." "Yes," Kemi said. "She is very sick." The receptionist glanced at the clock. Then she glanced at Kemi's folder. "Are you the 9 o'clock interview?" Kemi's throat tightened. "Yes, Ma." The receptionist sighed. "You should go upstairs. Interview panel does not like disturbances." Kemi's hands shook. "Ma, she might die." That word, die, sounded too big to say inside such a clean building. It made the receptionist sit up straighter. One of the security supervisors, a broad man with a walkie-talkie, was passing by. Kemi turned to him. "Sir, please. The woman outside. She is not well." He paused, annoyed at first, then saw Kemi's face. Something in her expression must have pushed past his irritation. He spoke into his walkie-talkie, short and sharp. "Gate A, someone collapsed." "Confirm." A voice replied, muffled. "Yes. Old woman. Sitting with one girl." "That's me," Kemi said. "I'm with her." The supervisor looked at Kemi. "Wait here." He walked toward the glass doors. Kemi followed without thinking. If they told her to go upstairs, she could not. Not while the woman's life was outside like a broken calabash. They stepped out. The old woman was still on the ground, breathing shallowly. Kemi rushed back to her side. She lifted the woman's head gently, resting it on her lap like a child. "Mama," she said. "I'm here." The woman's eyes opened again, barely. She looked at Kemi with a strange softness, like she was seeing something far beyond the street. "I had dreams," the woman whispered, voice almost lost. "But dreams do not matter if your heart is empty." Kemi's eyes stung. "Please don't talk. Save your strength." The supervisor crouched. He studied the woman's face, then his expression changed. His eyes narrowed, as if he recognized her, but could not believe it. He stood quickly, speaking into his walkie-talkie again, louder now. "Bring the company vehicle. Now. And call medical. This is urgent." Kemi looked up at him. "Do you know her?" The supervisor did not answer right away. His jaw tightened. He looked toward the building, then back down at the old woman. He spoke under his breath, like the words burned his tongue. "This woman looks like Madame Adebayo." Kemi frowned. "Who is Madame Adebayo?" The supervisor's eyes flicked to Kemi, and in that short glance, Kemi saw something like fear. He swallowed. "Only the mother of Chief Kabir Adebayo." Kemi's mind tried to catch up. The name Kabir. The whisper. The way the woman had said it like a last request. Chief Kabir Adebayo was not just any man. Everyone in Lagos had heard of him. Billionaire. Business king. The kind of person people mentioned in the same sentence as private jets and bodyguards, and he owns half of this city. The kind of person whose face appeared on billboards, smiling like life had never touched him with hardship. Kemi's breath caught. The old woman's fingers moved again, weakly tugging at Kemi's sleeve. "My son," she whispered. "He doesn't know. I came." Kemi's mouth went dry. "Mama, why did you come here alone?" But the old woman's eyes rolled toward the building, and a tear slipped down her cheek, thin and quiet. At that exact moment, Kemi heard the distant sound of sirens starting to rise. The company vehicle pulled up. 2 guards hurried forward with a stretcher. Kemi should have felt relief. Instead, her fear grew bigger, because she suddenly understood what she had done. She had chosen compassion over her dream job. She had delayed the interview that could lift her family out of struggle. She had stepped out of her own future for a stranger on the pavement. And now that stranger was not a stranger at all. Kemi looked up at the building again, imagining the interview panel upstairs, checking the clock, already crossing her name off a list. She imagined her mother's tired face if Kemi came home with nothing but a story. She imagined her brother's disappointment, the landlord's knock, the night hunger that made children cry. Then the old woman's hand tightened around her fingers for the last time. "Kemi," the woman whispered. Kemi stiffened. "How do you know my name?" The old woman's lips trembled as if she wanted to explain, as if there was a secret sitting right behind her teeth. But before she could say another word, the guards lifted her gently onto the stretcher, and the supervisor turned to Kemi with urgency. "You," he said, pointing. "Come with us. Now." Kemi's heart dropped. "Me?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "Chief Kabir Adebayo must be informed immediately. And if you don't come, I don't think anyone will believe what happened here." Kemi looked down at her interview folder, still clutched in her hand like a useless shield. She looked at the stretcher. She looked at the building. 2 paths. 1 choice already made. She climbed into the vehicle, trembling, as the siren sound grew louder. And as the door slammed shut, the old woman opened her eyes one more time and whispered something that made Kemi's blood run cold. "You think you lost your dream today," the woman said. "But you don't know what you just walked into." Kemi leaned closer, desperate. "Mama, what did you mean?" The woman's gaze shifted past Kemi, toward the road ahead, as if she could see the future waiting like a shadow behind sunlight. Then she closed her eyes. And the vehicle sped off toward the hospital, while Kemi sat frozen, one terrifying thought repeating in her mind. What would happen when the billionaire arrived and found out she had been the one holding his mother on the ground? And what if the interview she missed was only the smallest thing she was about to lose? The hospital smelled of medicine and cold air. Kemi noticed it the moment the vehicle doors opened. It was the kind of smell that made people quiet without being told. Nurses rushed past, shoes tapping fast on the floor. A stretcher rolled ahead of her, carrying the old woman, now wrapped in white sheets, her face pale and still. Kemi followed, heart pounding. "Wait here," a nurse said, holding up her hand as they pushed the stretcher through double doors. The doors closed. Kemi stood alone in the hallway. Only then did the shaking start. Her knees felt weak. Her fingers trembled so badly that her interview folder slipped from her hand and fell open on the floor. Papers scattered. Her passport photograph stared up at her, neat and hopeful, like it belonged to another person. A girl who was on her way to a bright future, not standing in a hospital hallway wondering if she had just ruined her life. She knelt to gather the papers, but her eyes blurred with tears. She pressed her lips together, refusing to cry loudly. Her mother always said tears were allowed, but noise was a luxury for people who had help. "Kemi." She looked up. The security supervisor stood a few steps away, his face tight, his phone pressed to his ear. He was listening to someone speak on the other end, his eyes serious. "Yes, sir," he said. "She is here. The girl." He ended the call and turned to Kemi. "Sit down," he said, pointing to a metal bench. Kemi sat. "Drink this," he added, handing her a small bottle of water. She drank, though her throat still felt dry. Is she alive?" The supervisor hesitated. "Doctors are trying." Those words felt heavy. "Not yes. Not no." Kemi nodded slowly. They sat in silence for a moment. Then the sound of hurried footsteps filled the hallway. People moved aside. Nurses straightened. Even the air seemed to shift. A man walked toward them, tall and sharp, dressed in a dark suit that looked too expensive for a hospital corridor. Two men followed him closely, speaking into small devices. His face was calm, but his eyes were not. They were wild with fear, the kind fear wears when it is used to being obeyed. Kemi knew his face immediately. Chief Kabir Adebayo. The billionaire. The man whose name opened doors and closed mouths. The man whose story filled newspapers and business magazines. The man the old woman had whispered about with her last strength. His eyes scanned the hallway until they landed on the supervisor. "Where is my mother?" he asked. His voice was low, but it carried power. The supervisor stood quickly. "Sir, she was brought in not long ago. She collapsed outside your company building." Kabir's face tightened. "Outside my building?" He repeated it slowly, as if trying to understand. "Why was she there alone?" No one answered. Kabir's eyes moved again, sharper now, and they landed on Kemi. She felt pinned in place. "This girl," the supervisor said carefully. "She was with your mother. She helped her." Kabir walked closer. Each step made Kemi's heart beat harder. He stopped in front of her and looked down. Kemi stood up without thinking. She bowed her head slightly, the way she had been taught to greet elders and important people. "Sir," she said softly. Kabir did not respond right away. His eyes searched her face, like he was trying to pull the truth out of her without words. "You were with her," he said at last. "Yes, sir," Kemi replied. She fell. "I tried to help." "Why?" he asked. The question surprised her. It was not angry. It was confused. Kemi swallowed. "Because she needed help." Kabir stared at her. Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe. Or guilt. Before he could speak again, the double doors opened. A doctor stepped out, removing his gloves. "Mr. Adebayo," the doctor said. Kabir turned quickly. "How is she?" The doctor hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "She is alive. But she is very weak. She has been sick for some time. Her body is tired." Kabir closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, they shone. "Can I see her?" "Yes," the doctor said. "But only briefly." Kabir nodded. He followed the doctor, then stopped suddenly and looked back at Kemi. "You," he said. "Come." Kemi froze. "Sir." "She asked for someone," Kabir said. "She kept talking about a girl. I think she meant you." Kemi's heart jumped. She followed, feet heavy, mind racing. They entered a quiet room. Machines hummed softly. The old woman lay on the bed, thin and small, looking nothing like the strong voice she once had. Tubes ran into her arm. Her eyes were closed. Kabir walked to the side of the bed and took her hand gently, like he was afraid she might break. His voice shook when he spoke. "Mama," he whispered. "It's me." "Kabir." The old woman's eyes fluttered open slowly. When she saw him, a faint smile touched her lips. "You came," she whispered. Kabir nodded, tears slipping down his face without shame. "Why didn't you tell me you were sick?" She breathed out a tired laugh. "You were busy," she said. "Always busy." Kabir lowered his head. "I would have come." She looked at him for a long moment. Then her gaze shifted to Kemi. "This is the girl," the old woman said weakly. She stayed. Kabir turned to Kemi again, really looked at her this time. "She stayed," the old woman repeated. "She chose me, when she had somewhere important to be." Kabir frowned. "What do you mean?" Kemi's mouth opened, then closed. She did not want to say it. It felt like complaining. But the old woman squeezed Kabia's hand. She had a dream, the woman said. An interview. Today. Kabia's eyes widened. He looked at Kemi sharply. You missed your interview because of my mother. Kemi nodded, shame burning her chest. Yes, sir. The room went quiet. Kabia's jaw tightened. He looked at his mother, then back at Kemi. Why didn't you leave her with the guards? He asked. Kemi lifted her chin slightly. Because she asked me not to leave. The old woman smiled faintly. Kabia said nothing for a long time. His thoughts were loud in his silence. Finally, the doctor cleared his throat. Mr. Adebayo, she needs rest. Kabia nodded. He kissed his mother's forehead gently. I'm here now, he said. I won't leave. As they stepped out of the room, Kabia stopped Kemi in the hallway. What is your name? He asked. Kemi, she replied. Where do you live? She hesitated, then answered. Ajigonal, sir. Kabia nodded slowly, storing the information away. You did a good thing today, he said. Kemi looked down. I don't know, sir. I lost my chance. Kabia studied her face. Sometimes, he said quietly, what looks like loss is something else entirely. Before she could ask what he meant, his phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression changed. He turned back to Kemi, eyes serious. My mother disappeared from her home early this morning, he said. She left a note. Kemi's stomach tightened. A note. Kabia nodded. She wrote that she needed to see something for herself. Something about people. Kemi remembered the old woman's words on the pavement. Dreams do not matter if your heart is empty. Kabia continued, voice heavy. She went to my company building on purpose. She wanted to see how people would treat her if she looked like nothing. Kemi's breath caught. Kabia looked at her steadily. And you passed her test. Kemi's mind spun. Sir, what does that mean? Kabia did not answer right away. He looked toward the room where his mother lay, then back at Kemi. It means, he said slowly, that what you did today may change more than just your life. At that moment, a nurse rushed toward them. Mr. Adebayo, she said urgently. Your mother is asking for the girl again. She says there is something she must tell her. Something important. Kemi's heart dropped. What could she want to tell me? Kemi asked. Kabia looked at her, his face unreadable. I don't know, he said. But whatever it is, I think you should hear it. Kemi followed the nurse back toward the room, her chest tight with fear and curiosity. Because deep down, she felt it. The real story was only just beginning. The room was quiet when Kemi stepped back inside. The machines still hummed, steady and soft, like they were counting time in their own slow way. The old woman's eyes were open now, clearer than before, though her body looked weaker. She turned her head slightly when she saw Kemi and smiled. Come closer, my child, she said. Kemi moved to the side of the bed. Chief Kabia stood a few steps back, his arms folded tightly across his chest, like he was holding himself together. The old woman reached for Kemi's hand. Her grip was light now, but warm. I scared you today, she said gently. Kemi shook her head. No, Mama. I was just worried. The woman nodded, as if that answer pleased her. You were kind when kindness was costly, she said. That is rare. Kemi felt her throat tighten. Mama, why did you go out alone? Why didn't you call your son? The woman sighed, a long breath filled with tears. Because I wanted to know something, she said. Before my strength left me completely. Kabia stepped forward. Mama, you should have told me, he said, his voice breaking. I would have gone with you anywhere. She looked at him with tired eyes full of love. Kabir, she said, you give people money. You give buildings. You give jobs. But I was not sure you still understood people. Kabir flinched as if the words had struck him. I wanted to see, she continued, how this world treats a woman when she looks poor, old, and alone. I wanted to know if kindness still lived among us, without cameras, without praise. Her eyes moved back to Kemi. And I found my answer. Kemi felt tears slide down her cheeks. Mama, I only did what anyone should do. The old woman smiled faintly. Many walked past me today, she said. Some were rich. Some were educated. Some wore fine clothes. Only you stopped. Kabir looked away, shame written plainly on his face. Kabir, the woman said softly. He stepped closer. Yes, Mama. You have built a big name, she said. But remember this girl when you are tempted to forget the ground you came from. Kabir nodded slowly. I will. The woman squeezed Kemi's hand again. Now listen to me carefully, she said. I do not have much time. Kemi leaned in. You chose compassion over your dream job, the woman said. You think you lost something today? Kemi nodded, her voice barely steady. Yes, Mama. The woman smiled. Dreams change shape, she said. But a good heart only grows stronger. Her breathing grew slower. The nurse moved closer, watching the monitor. Mama, Kabir said quickly. Please rest. The woman's eyes moved between the two of them one last time. Promise me, she said, that you will take care of her. Kabir did not hesitate. I promise. The woman exhaled gently, as if she had been holding that breath all day. Her eyes closed. The room went still. For one frightening moment, Kemi thought the worst had happened. Then the machine beeped again, steady. She's asleep, the nurse said quietly. Let her rest. Kabir stood there for a long time, staring at his mother's face. When he finally turned to Kemi, his eyes were red. Thank you, he said. Two simple words, heavy with meaning. Kemi shook her head. I didn't do it for thanks, sir. I know, Kabir replied. That is why it matters. They stepped out into the hallway. Morning had moved into afternoon. Sunlight streamed through the high windows, soft and warm. Kabir took out his phone and spoke to someone briefly. Then he turned back to Kemi. You were interviewed for a position at my company today, he said. Yes, sir, Kemi answered, her heart sinking again. You missed it, he continued. Yes, sir. Kabir nodded. The panel was told you didn't show up. Kemi looked down. I understand. Kabir was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I cancelled the remaining interviews. Kemi looked up sharply. Sir. I cancelled them, he repeated. Because I realized something. She waited, afraid to breathe. My company does not need more clever people, Kabir said. It needs better people. Kemi's heart began to pound. You will still be interviewed, he said. But not today. When my mother wakes, she will sit on that panel. Kemi gasped softly. Sir, He raised a hand. This is not a reward, he said. It is a responsibility. Kemi nodded, tears falling freely now. I won't fail. Kabir looked at her with a small smile. I don't think you know how. Later that evening, Kemi rode the bus home, her head full and spinning. The city looked the same, noisy and bright, but she felt different inside. Like something heavy had been lifted, even though nothing was certain yet. When she reached her street, children were playing football with a plastic bottle. Neighbors sat outside, talking. Life moved on, unaware of the quiet storm that had passed through her day. Her mother opened the door when Kemi knocked. Kemi, she asked, worried. You're late. How was the interview? Kemi hugged her tightly. Mama, she said softly, let me tell you a story. As she spoke, her mother listened, eyes wide, hand pressed to her chest. When Kemi finished, her mother nodded slowly. You did well, she said. Whatever comes next, you did well. That night, as Kemi lay on her thin mattress, she stared at the ceiling, thinking of the old woman's words. Dreams change shape. Somewhere across the city, in a quiet hospital room, a billionaire sat beside his mother's bed, holding her hand, thinking about the girl who stopped when everyone else walked past. And in that stillness, something began to shift. Not just for Kemi. Not just for Kabir. But for all the lives that kindness, once chosen, had the power to touch.